close friends sit across from each other, one reaching into her purse to hand over an envelope thick with cash. Taylor Wright, a 33-year-old former police officer turned private investigator, counts out $34,000 and places it in Ashley McArthur's hands. She trusts Ashley completely. They've been friends for years, and Ashley worked as a crime scene technician for the sheriff's office. Ashley promises to keep the money safe in her bank's safe deposit box while Taylor goes through her messy divorce. Taylor needs this money for court costs and child support for her young son. She hugs Ashley goodbye, believing she's just solved her biggest problem. But this act of trust would become Taylor's death sentence. Quick question before we dive deeper: drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from tonight. Because what happened next in Pensacola, Florida, shook the entire law enforcement community to its core.
This betrayal started months earlier when Taylor first asked her trusted friend for help. This is Accused, where we dig deeper than the headlines to uncover the truth behind the cases that shocked communities nationwide. If you want the full story behind what really happened between these two friends, hit that subscribe button now, because we're about to reveal the evidence the media missed and the betrayal that cost Taylor Wright everything. This is the story of how a friendship built on trust became a murder case that exposed just how dangerous it can be when you place your life in the wrong hands.
Taylor Wright had every reason to trust Ashley McArthur. Taylor was 33 years old in 2017, a strong woman who had served as a police officer in Jacksonville, North Carolina, before moving to Florida to work as a private investigator. Her friends and family described her as fiercely loyal and protective, someone who would do anything for the people she loved. Most importantly, she was a devoted mother to her young son, and everything she did was focused on providing for him and securing their future together. But Taylor was going through a difficult divorce from her husband, Jeff Wright, and the legal battle was getting expensive. She had withdrawn $100,000 from their joint bank account, money she needed for court proceedings and child support payments. The problem was, she needed to keep some of this money hidden from her husband during the divorce proceedings, which is where Ashley McArthur came into the picture.
Ashley had worked as a crime scene technician for the Escambia County Sheriff's Office, so Taylor saw her as someone who understood the legal system and could be trusted with sensitive matters. Ashley offered to help by storing $34,000 of Taylor's money in a safe deposit box at her bank. To Taylor, this seemed like the perfect solution. She had complete faith in Ashley, and that trust would ultimately cost her everything. The arrangement was simple. Ashley would keep the money safe, and Taylor could get it back whenever she needed it for her legal expenses.
The timeline of events leading to September 8th, 2017, started months earlier when Taylor first approached Ashley about hiding the money. Ashley McArthur had built a reputation as someone reliable within the law enforcement community. Her background as a crime scene technician meant she understood evidence, investigations, and how the legal system worked. This made her seem like the ideal person to help Taylor navigate her divorce troubles. Taylor regularly checked in with Ashley about the money through text messages and phone calls, and Ashley always reassured her that everything was fine and the money was safe. But as the weeks passed, something changed. When Taylor started asking for portions of the money back to pay for her mounting legal bills, Ashley began making excuses. First, she said the bank was busy and she couldn't get to the safe deposit box. Then she claimed there were problems with accessing the box. Taylor started to get worried, but she still trusted her friend and believed Ashley would come through for her. The breaking point came when Taylor desperately needed the money for an upcoming court date. She had been patient with Ashley's delays, but now she absolutely had to have her $34,000 back. Ashley finally agreed to meet with Taylor on September 8th, 2017 to return the money. Taylor told her girlfriend Cassandra that she was going to meet Ashley to collect what was rightfully hers. That meeting would be the last time anyone saw Taylor Wright alive.
September 8th, 2017 started as what should have been a simple transaction between friends. Taylor Wright drove to meet Ashley McArthur, expecting to finally get her $34,000 back so she could handle her legal expenses. But Ashley had been lying to Taylor for weeks. The truth was, Ashley had already spent Taylor's money. When Taylor showed up demanding her cash back, Ashley couldn't produce it. Phone records later showed that both women's phones were at the same location that day, a property owned by Ashley's family in Pensacola. This would become crucial evidence for investigators. Ashley had the advantage of knowing exactly how crime scenes worked and what evidence to look for, since that had been her job for years. But she couldn't erase every trace of what happened that September day. Taylor's car was found abandoned, and her girlfriend Cassandra became worried when Taylor didn't come home and stopped answering her phone completely. This was completely unlike Taylor, who stayed in constant contact with her girlfriend and never went anywhere without telling her where she was going. Cassandra knew something was terribly wrong, and she contacted the Pensacola Police Department to report Taylor missing on September 14, 2017. The investigation began immediately, and Ashley McArthur quickly became a person of interest because she was the last person known to have seen Taylor alive. Question for you. If your close friend asked you to hold $34,000 during their divorce proceedings, would you A, agree to help but document everything legally, B, refuse to get involved in their financial matters, C, help them but suggest they use a bank instead, or D, take the money and hope they never ask for it back? Taylor trusted Ashley completely, but that trust was about to destroy everything. The Pensacola Police Department and Escambia County Sheriff's Office launched a full investigation into Taylor's disappearance. This case was particularly sensitive because it involved someone from their own law enforcement community. Ashley McArthur had worked alongside many of the investigators as a crime scene technician. Detective Brent Tinsley led the investigation, and he immediately noticed inconsistencies in Ashley's story about what happened during her meeting with Taylor. Ashley claimed she had given Taylor the money and that Taylor had left safely, but she couldn't explain why Taylor's phone had gone completely silent, or why Taylor never made it home to her girlfriend. Investigators obtained search warrants for Ashley's phone records, bank accounts, and financial transactions. What they discovered was shocking. Ashley had been spending money well beyond her normal means in the weeks leading up to Taylor's disappearance. Bank records showed suspicious activity, and cell phone data placed both Ashley and Taylor at the same remote location on September 8th. The investigation team also discovered that Ashley had purchased concrete and soil from a local store, items that seemed unusual for someone who claimed to know nothing about Taylor's whereabouts. But Ashley's knowledge of crime scene procedures meant she understood how investigations worked, which made building a case against her more challenging. On October 19th, 2017, Ashley McArthur was arrested and charged with second-degree murder in connection with Taylor Wright's disappearance. The arrest shocked the Pensacola law enforcement community, where Ashley had been a respected member for years. However, as the investigation progressed and more evidence was uncovered, prosecutors would later upgrade the charges to first-degree murder before trial. Ashley maintained her innocence throughout the legal proceedings, claiming she had given Taylor the money as promised and had no idea what happened to her friend afterward. Her defense team argued that there was no direct evidence linking Ashley to Taylor's disappearance and that the prosecution's case was based on circumstantial evidence. However, prosecutors had been building a strong case based on financial records, cell phone data, and Ashley's suspicious behavior after Taylor vanished. They pointed out that Ashley had been unable to produce any evidence that she had actually returned the $34,000 to Taylor, despite claiming she had done so. The case attracted significant media attention throughout Florida, particularly because it involved the betrayal of trust between two friends, one of whom had worked in law enforcement. Ashley's family and some colleagues continued to support her, believing she was innocent of the charges, but investigators remained convinced they had the right suspect, and they continued searching for Taylor's body to strengthen their case. The breakthrough in the case came 1 month after Taylor disappeared, when search teams found her remains on property owned by the McArthur family. Taylor Wright's body was discovered buried under concrete, confirming investigators' worst fears about what had happened to the missing private investigator. The discovery of Taylor's body provided crucial physical evidence that prosecutors needed to move forward with their case against Ashley. Forensic experts examined the remains and the burial site, gathering evidence about how Taylor had died and when she had been buried. Having already established that Taylor had been shot, investigators could now build a complete timeline of the murder. For Taylor's family and girlfriend Cassandra, finding Taylor's body brought a mix of closure and devastating grief. They finally knew what had happened to Taylor, but the reality of her murder was almost too painful to bear. The murder trial began in August 2019, and prosecutors focused on the fact that Ashley McArthur was the last person to see Taylor alive, and that she had clear motivation to kill her friend. The jury heard evidence about Ashley's financial troubles and her inability to return Taylor's $34,000. Assistant State Attorney Bridget Jensen told the jury that Taylor needed that money for court proceedings and child support costs, emphasizing how desperate Taylor had been to get her money back. Prosecutors theorized that Taylor was shot by Ashley after she confronted her about the stolen money. The prosecution presented cell phone records, bank statements, and surveillance video showing Ashley's suspicious activities in the days following Taylor's disappearance. They also called witnesses who testified about the relationship between the two women and Ashley's changing explanations for what happened on September 8th. The defense argued that the evidence was circumstantial and that there was no direct proof Ashley had killed Taylor. However, the jury was convinced by the prosecution's case. Ashley McArthur was found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison. The conviction brought some measure of justice for Taylor's family, though nothing could bring back the devoted mother and dedicated investigator who had simply trusted the wrong person with her money and her life. Today, Ashley McArthur is serving a life sentence in a Florida state prison with no possibility of parole. She was also sentenced to 7 years for racketeering and organized fraud in an unrelated case, showing that her betrayal of Taylor was part of a larger pattern of criminal behavior. Taylor Wright's son will grow up without his mother, and her girlfriend Cassandra continues to grieve the loss of the woman she loved. The case had a profound impact on the Pensacola law enforcement community, where trust and integrity are supposed to be fundamental values. Ashley's conviction showed that no one is above the law, regardless of their professional background or standing in the community. Taylor's family has spoken about how much they miss her and how her death has left a permanent hole in their lives. They remember her as a devoted mother, a skilled investigator, and a loyal friend who deserved so much better than the betrayal that ended her life. The case serves as a tragic reminder that sometimes the people we trust most are the ones capable of causing us the greatest harm. Standing at Taylor Wright's grave today, you're reminded that she was just 33 years old when her life was cut short by someone she considered a close friend. She left behind a young son who will never again feel his mother's embrace, a girlfriend who lost her partner and best friend, and a family that continues to mourn her loss. Taylor was a woman who had dedicated her career to serving others, first as a police officer and then as a private investigator, helping people find answers and solve problems. For what did Ashley McArthur destroy all of this? For $34,000 that wasn't even hers to begin with. For money that Taylor had earned and saved and desperately needed for her own child's future. The betrayal is almost impossible to comprehend. Ashley threw away her freedom, her reputation, and most importantly, Taylor's life for money she could never truly keep. Tomorrow, we'll explore another case that shows how quickly trust can turn deadly when money gets involved. If you want to hear these stories that dig deeper than the news reports, subscribe to Accused and hit the notification bell. Taylor Wright deserves to be remembered not for how she died, but for how she lived, as a mother who would do anything for her son, a professional who helped others find justice, and a friend who trusted too deeply and paid the ultimate price.